Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakat, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth. And Shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, who consists of the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Shalom. It's the 12th of August, and I haven't actually looked at the days. I don't want to look at the days, but I'm pretty sure I haven't made a video since July. And so it's been a few weeks, a hot minute, and I'm going to show you why without showing you why, but you're going to realize that you've already recognized it. So what it is this video really is directed. You have to understand this full understanding of these scriptures. So really anyone that's teaching, they're going to understand what I'm saying, they're going to understand what I'm talking about. It's going to make sense. If you understand the concept of Acts 2.0, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. You have you go Acts 1.0, if you like. Acts, what I mean by that is, Yahushua raising up a church. So this is after he's been put to death. He's come back in the spirit, obviously, to the apostles. Cut a long story short, a body of people or believers has been established, and then obviously we know eventually that went out to the Gentiles, the Israelite Gentiles, Israelites living as foreigners in foreign lands, and then eventually you had 7 churches. So really, we're looking at a complete body of believers 2,000 years ago. Whatever the number of exactly of people are, I couldn't tell you, but obviously you can kind of guess where they're coming from. From obviously the scriptures, you can work out obviously locations, so on and so forth. And then you had this a church, pretty much when I say church, obviously Yahweh Shai's movement, a body of believers that believe in Yahushai. Obviously, you had temples, which we don't now, but we're in a recreation of pretty much what happened in Acts. So this is where you're not going to open up the Bible and find Acts 2.0. Oh, this is what's going to happen. But through the Spirit, if you have understanding, a good deep understanding of the Scriptures, then you're going to understand what Acts 2.0 means. We're in a time now, 2,000 years roughly later. Um, Abba Bivens, who we believe is Elijah, sent back again. And from that point to now, and we've established a truth of the scriptures. We're able to teach that truth, and then we're also able to look around the world, the events, and see it coincide with the way we teach the scriptures. Then you have obviously a body of believers, within that group. So then you're recreating the church, if you like. That I hate using that word, but I keep saying body of believers from 2,000 years ago, resurrected. Don't forget, Yahushua said, they said, "How will we know when the end comes?" He said, "Don't worry, I'll let you know." So we know we're here. You know the name of the Most High. You know the name of His Son. You know all His prophecies, and you know what's about to happen. If your eyes are open, you can see it happening in front of you. So we're pretty sure. We've got a sure word of prophecy. We're pretty sure we know where we're at. Not just pretty sure, but we're 100% sure. It just depends on your faith, really, or your. Again, the more you understand, the more likely you have faith in that understanding and that concept. So we understand reincarnation is real. So we understand that those believers that were alive 2,000 years ago are going to be alive today. And they're pretty much doing the same thing, which is believing in Yahweh Shai, just like you did. The information, the knowledge was lost, it was gone. It came back, is resurrected, the Great Awakening, the two sticks, so on and so forth. So we're back at this point now. And so this word's going out, like wildfire. And then you're seeing this development of prophecy take place. And then you come across the true prophets of the Most High Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, which I would label as GMS, the prophets of GMS, and then anyone teaching the same thing. A prophet's got to be speaking of it. So if you're believing in this, but you're not speaking on it in a public manner, then you're not a prophet. But obviously, those that are speaking on it, they're here, and then what you'll find that there's videos going out on a constant basis. This is Deuteronomy 32:2. It says, "My doctrine shall drop as the rain." It says, "My speech shall distill as the dew." It is as the small rain upon the tender herb, as the showers upon the grass. Because I will publish the name of Yahweh, ascribe ye greatness unto our power. And that's what we're doing. The word has been published. We've understood it. The prophets have gone out. They've understood it. They've established, published it. Established that that's what the name is. Whether people believe that or not, that's a different question. But when you go into, for example, ChatGPT, you type in Yahweh or Yahweh Shai or GMS, this understanding, or even other people that teach Yahweh, or Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, you'll find it. So it exists. It has been established. You go into ChatGPT, and they'll say specifically, yes. If you ask about GMS, they'll say, yep, they teach about Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. So there's the name published on your screen, and you're looking at it. And that's what we do. We ascribe greatness unto our power. So then I come at you with my stories, and I say, oh, like I give you the same understanding on the scriptures, and then I tell you how I came to the truth. I say, well, I found out I was a Hebrew Israelite because Yahweh Shai came to visit me. He came personally to visit me, and that sounds like a tall story. And then I tell you that in 2024 he came back again. So the first time, I was just thinking about it a minute ago, the first time he came, I saw him. The second time I heard him. But even the second time when he came and I heard him, there's no actual sound. It's not coming from a voice box. So there's no sound of a voice in terms of a voice box. But when you read about it being, the voice, sound of many waters, for example, because it's loud, isn't it? And it's distinct. So you hear these words and they are projected into your mind. You kind of hearing it in your head, but there's no actual sound to it. You can't pinpoint it and say this is a deep pitch sound, this is a low pitch voice, it sounded a bit grisly, sounded like I just woke up. You can't say that, but it's very prominent in your mind. You hear this something being said to you, and you just know that is a higher power directly projecting a word into your brain, bypassing the Holy Spirit and everything else. So have these scenarios and these situations, so that really, when you look at what GMS do, you think, well, I should really be doing the same. And in my mind, that would be my first instinct. So, I was typing this into AI, and then it was going, nah, it doesn't exist. And then I mentioned GMS. I said, I'm pretty sure GMS speak about special word being written by several writers all night or for 3 days or something. I couldn't remember. And this is another thing I've said to you before. See, I don't really remember. I won't sit here and pull up scriptures upon scriptures, but I know what I'm going to talk about is going to be from the scriptures. So, for example, in my last video, I spoke about earthly things, but I didn't bring up any precepts about earthly things. And then I watched Apostle Tahar, and he brings up a video and he brings up the precepts with the earthly things. I know I'm going to say what's written in there. I'm pretty guaranteed in my mind, if I speak, I'm going to say what's written in there. And that's why I don't really go to it. I just cut straight to the point and speak it. But it's the same message. And where is my brain? Because I had to process it. I'm thinking to myself, why can't I? Because my brain works on instinct. When I was at school, I used to go to exams. My mum's going, yeah, you're going to be a doctor. You're Asian. You're going to be a doctor. Blah blah blah. And I used to sit in an exam, and my brain go blank. You want me to remember everything I learned in the last year and write it down in an hour and a half? Like, that's some weird concept of learning. So, but with me, I'll learn something, I'll see it, and I'll learn how to do it, and then I'll just know how to do it. And I'll give you another example. So, in 2008, I was 28, I qualified as a carpenter. But what it is, I could already do carpentry before I only went there to get the qualification, to have a qualification. And when I passed it with the highest mark I could get. I had a distinction because I knew how to hang a door. I know how to cut a roof, X, Y, Z. 20 years later, 19 years later, you ask me what these things are called. You ask me to label all the different things on a roof. I can't label them, but I can build you a roof. So I know from when I was young, don't give me things to remember because I'm not going to remember them, but just show me what to do and I'll just leave it to it and I'll work it out. I'm saying that because the Most High made me like that for a reason. I'm starting to realize that. And so what he does, see, I think to myself, I could do what GMS do. I could just make a video, pull up a verse, just pull it up, read it. But the Most High don't want me to do that. He wants me to work off my instinct to speak. And then if the Most High don't want me to speak, he messes up my instincts by giving me other problems. And then when he wants me to speak, he takes them problems away. And then he allows me to speak because he knows I'm not going to speak unless I can sit down and zone in on my instincts. When I lock into the instinct, and then I'll speak. So, like for example, it's been a couple of weeks, and this morning I've come home from work and I'm ready to speak. And then straight away, about an hour ago, the Most High presented me with something else. And I said, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect to explain my scenario. So back to what I'm saying here. I'm pretty sure GMS speak about a special word being written by several writers all night or 3 days or something. That's what's going on in my head. It says, you're spot on. You're remembering a famous passage, 2nd Ezra chapter 14, which is found in the Apocrypha. So that's why it wasn't coming up the first time when I was asking it bluntly without GMS. Obviously, it's thinking of the Bible without the Apocrypha, which to me is a Bible that's missing a part of it. So it's 2/3 of a Bible. But anyway, books that are included in some versions of the Bible, like KJV, there you go. Hebrew Israelite groups like GMS frequently teach from these books. The story describes exactly what you remembered. Several scribes writing non-stop, day and night, to reconstruct the sacred word of the Most High. So that's the spirit that's on GMS, to reconstruct the sacred word of the Most High, from Abba Bivens, who we believe is Elijah, to what GMS will teach you today, pretty much. In a nutshell, it's been reconstructed. At certain points it wasn't fully constructed, but we're pretty much at the point now where it is. We have full understanding. And that's why I'm saying this Acts 2.0 is quite important, because if you're in it and you can recognize it, then that's a great sign that the Most High is probably going to give you salvation, because you're literally reliving what you lived 2,000 years ago, but in 2026 with the end time events happening at the same time. And this time you've got a pair of Nikes on instead of a pair of sandals. But yeah, this spirit to reconstruct the word. The story from 2nd Ezra chapter 14. In this account, the original Holy Scriptures has been burnt and destroyed during the Babylonian exile. The Most High commands the prophet Ezra to take 5 fast-writing scribes out into a field and recreate the lost texts. Ezra is given a miraculous fiery drink that expands his mind. He dictates the word of the Most High continuously, while 5 men write non-stop. So I'll just read the verse here as well. The highest gave. It doesn't tell me what version this is. Well, sorry, it's the Apocrypha. So anyway, the highest gave understanding unto 5 men and wrote the wonderful visions of the night that were told. They sat 40 days. They wrote in the day, and at night they ate bread. That was it. As for me, I spake in the day and held not my tongue by night. In 40 days, they wrote 94 books. So that's the spirit that you witness. That exact spirit is active now, is active today in 2026, and it's activated upon GMS. Anyone coming into that range. And I know what GMS will say. They'll say, if you're teaching the same thing as GMS, even if you're not GMS, you're GMS. Yeah, that makes sense. But what it is, there's a distinction because you have this particular spirit. So I'd really boil it down to the spirit. If you got that type of spirit on you to just keep pumping it out, then chances are you're definitely a prophet. I can't guarantee that, but it looks good. But like I say, then I get to my situation, then I think, well, how come I can't achieve this simple feat of just knocking out videos? And like I say, it's because A, I don't work off that memory thing. B, I work off the instinct. So, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in higher places. We're working against this. It says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in this evil day, having done all to stand. So, we're fighting against, you're dealing with these problems, your little issues. I'm like that guy. I've always got this little excuse, this happened and that happened, and all these crazy stories. I can give you a book of stories. And then sometimes I hate giving stories because it's like you come like that guy who's late every day for work and has always got a different, oh, the dog ate my shoe. The next day, oh, the dog ate my car key. I hate to be that person. So even if I'm going to work, I'll make sure I'm on time. But then what it is, we can't control ourselves. This is what started hitting me. So then I'm trying to work off this instinct. And if I got no problems, I can zone in and I'll make a video. I'll try and put some power into it and X, Y, Z. And the Most High knows if he wants to move me away from it, he'll just throw problems at me. And he knows I'm not going to speak. Because while my mind is that stoicism where you got a problem, I kind of obsessed with it until I can fix it. Now, some of the problems I've had over the last 2 weeks, I've had multiple problems and I haven't fixed them all, but I've found the solution and to most of them. So that's what's made me feel a bit at ease. And I start tapping in. But then I bring you to this. This is GMS Vegas 144 Reloaded. See, everything we're doing now, we did back then. And then there's a spirit working on us. These spirits work against us. The spirits work for us. You're just in this battle. And it's kind of a nightmare, obviously, because there's a lot of these wicked spirits out there as well. But anyway, so I come home this morning from work. My brain's clear. And I'm like, I'm going to hit a video. So when I sat down, cup of tea, and this is the first thing I see, GMS Vegas 144 Reloaded. And then I started watching this 4 days ago. It says, this idiot claims Apostle Paul is one of the false prophets the Lord warned about in Matthew 24. And he just breaks it down. I'm not going to go deep into this. It's just, I can't really do that. And I'll explain why. So I did leave my own little comment here. So Paul was because this guy's basically saying Paul's a false prophet or whatever. So Paul was winging it. Apparently he's a false prophet, but meanwhile, somehow he spoke about MAGA, Make America Great Again. It's by peace and safety, 2,000 years before Trump was born. So that's your false prophet that told you about the government you're witnessing to this day. But then I came across this. I had to check the comments. Now this guy like Jesus everywhere. Jesus is the resurrection. Blah blah blah. I don't know how you could find your way to this channel and then have all this knowledge and still be using the fucking name Jesus. I mean, come on, man. It's ridiculous, but he's probably copy and pasted it. But you know what it is? It's not even that, right? It's this first line. He kills it. There seems to be a lot of people, as of lately, trying to discredit Paul. Because I think attacks on Paul have a lot to do with trying to unify Christians with the idea of upholding some future Jewish government that will rule the world from Jerusalem. I don't know what he's going on about, but says there seems to be a lot of people as of lately trying to discredit Paul. And what it is, I started to notice a pattern. And when you see, so what you've seen over the last week or whatever, I don't know how long, you've just seen Paul, Paul's this, Paul's that, Paul's everything, Paul's everything that's bad under the sun. It's all Paul's fault. The original Everybody Hates Chris is Everybody Hates Paul. Not that it's something to, like walk around sulking about, but that's the storyline. So we didn't make the storyline. The Most High did. And then, and I do it is, like I said, if you can understand Acts 2.0, there's only one person really I speak to on a regular basis that understands this information, this knowledge. And he understands Acts 2.0. He sees what I see. So I'm saying to him, well, you can see, look, what's kicking off. It's kicking off online. Everybody's got an opinion. But while you're seeing that, the same thing's happening at my end. These spirits, let me go back to it. Ephesians chapter 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So I'm not worried about this guy. I'll be honest. While you hear these people with their outbursts, I got my own shit to deal with, and everything around me ramps up like tenfold. So this breaks. Like at the minute, I'm going through this phase where it's hot and everything's fucking breaking. Everything's breaking. I've got a car that's sat out there for 2 weeks, hasn't moved, and I had to trace all the fucking wiring out of it, change the fucking module's still not going into gear, this, that, and then I traced it back to broken wires because the cables are getting hot, and then they're contracting at night when it's cold, and then they're rubbing on this thing, and then they've caught and they broke. That's one thing I've had to deal with. I can give you multiple other things. The fucking kitchen sink tap just burst out of nowhere, started flushing water everywhere. How the fuck has the sink just done that? And then I think the seals have just perished inside. But it's the heat. This tap's only 3 years old. And that's just the silly stuff. Then there's other stuff going on. There's people just giving me headache. I came across this one, the Gish Gallop. I had never heard this, and then I heard it the other day, Gish Gallop meaning. Since I heard it, and then I heard Apostle Tahar say it, and then I seen the other video, the Gish Gallop in Ethiopia, and everybody knew this word apart from me. The Gish Gallop is a debate tactic where someone overwhelms an opponent by presenting an excessive number of rapid, often specious arguments. Specious is an adjective, something that seems true, correct, or attractive on the surface, but is actually false, deceptive, or lacking real merit. So you got people just chatting shit and arguing. So you got like straw man argument. That's someone who's trying to be very deceptive, like a serpent, like a vocab would use straw man arguments because he tries to purposely lead things. And when you got a real dummy, a real idiot, that person will then resort to a Gish Gallop. This is like a lower level of intelligence. You've come across a Gish Galloper because now he just thinks he's just going to bombard you with words and pump his fist, and he won. He won. Origins of the term was coined in 1994 by anthropologist Eugene Scott. She named it after Duane Gish, a prominent creationist who frequently used rapid-fire debating style against scientists and educators. Quantity over quality, time constraints, using up the time, mixed truths. They throw in a few truths to kind of make it sound like, yeah, and then they just throw in a load of shit. How to fight against it, name the tactic. See, I didn't know what this was called, but I get this people come at me with this all the time out of nowhere, and this is I actually, but through the spirit, I already started using that tactic. Point out what your opponent is doing to the audience, neutralizing the illusion that they are successfully debating you. The last woman that did it to me a week ago, where we started chatting shit at work, was fucking security lady. Oh, you were rude to my. Because one guy's gone to me, oh, don't tell me how to do my job. And I'm going, calm down, bro. No one's telling you how to do your job. Like, you're looking at me confused. So I said, I've got paint here. You need to scan it on the machine. Oh, don't tell me how to do my job. I was like, listen, you need to calm down because no one's told you how to do your job. I get that you're offended, but there's no need to be. Then she comes out of nowhere. Oh, yeah, right, chatting shit. You're rude, this, that, then. And I said, listen, you're being confrontational. You're offensive to me. And you need to back away. And she said, what do you mean? What do you mean? And what it is, you use certain keywords, they just have to fuck off. You got to kind of tell them as well. She's going, oh, everybody thinks you're rude. And I turned around, looked at the room. Nobody's looking. I go, well, none of these people are here backing you up. And I said, yeah, I just basically told her, you're just talking to sound good. But yeah, I get it all the time, man. And then, like I say, where you see this like increase online, it happens in the flesh. Even though I'm not fighting the flesh, I'm in the flesh. And it happens over here. So I'm sitting there walking around scratching my head thinking, fucking hell, I've got 10 problems to deal with. And I got to make this video about spiritual power. And then I'm sitting there thinking, no, not a chance. Because by the time I'm dealing with this and dealing with that and doing that, and then it's dark. It's freaking 11:59. Eating my dinner fucking late, all that kind of shit. Bullshit. Nonsense. Anyway. But I'm not trying to sit here and moan about it. I'm just trying to show you that so you have this Acts 2.0 thing. A lot of the struggles, a lot of whatever you go through, you probably went through. If you got this bad arm that you're hobbling around with, this bad arm, in the truth, waiting on your Hawashai, Shai, you was probably doing that 2,000 years ago with your bad arm, your bad knee, or whatever it was. It is what it is, until we get changed, you're gonna feel that no matter what time zone you're living in, 2000 now, you live in the year 2000 or 2000 BC. Knee pain is knee pain. But yeah, like I say, everything for me works kind of through the spirit. And then, like I say, this morning I said, yeah, I'm gonna sit down and my brain's clear. And then the first thing I saw is this, and this person come up. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of people of lately trying to discredit Paul. It's the attack. It's an attack. So for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness. So you're fighting against the ruler of darkness, that's Satan, and his minions and his spiritual minions, and of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And so they can. It's like you see these like the earthquakes are happening. See, okay, earthquakes have been going crazy for a while, but all of a sudden, the last like week, earthquakes are popping off. It's kind of exciting because when you picture this, we keep talking about the MOTB and World War III and the MOTB, but there's a lot of other stuff. When you start picturing it and you're seeing it, yeah, there's just smoke billowing from these fucking. I mean, you've got earthquakes. I don't know if there's any volcanoes popping off, but the earthquakes. I was just thinking about the volcanoes as well. But this is end time scenes. This is what we want to see. Right now I'm looking out the window. Everything looks calm, blue sky. Everything looks normal, but soon the whole world's going to get. It doesn't matter where you are. At some point you're going to feel it because when them ICBMs hit, the earth is going to rock, the land is going to break, and everything around you, wherever you live, is going to be destroyed because there's going to be a worldwide earthquake. So every building, every utility place, every water company, it's all going to be gone. But in the meantime, like I say, before we wrestle not against flesh and blood, against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness in high places, spiritual wickedness in high places. Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. So you see the earthquakes, they just come out all of a sudden. The Most High is just on it, and that's what happens. That's what I've realized with me. That's what I was. That's where I was going. I kind of went off a bit. So I've noticed that pattern. You know, Yahushua came in 2018, and he came again in 2024. This time he showed me a bit more about who I was, and then I've realized that pattern. These flare-ups, if you notice, I haven't taken note of it before 2024. 2 years ago, August 2024 was the last time Yahushua came in person and spoke, and that was like I say. Since then, I've started watching, and then I've noticed the pattern. Every now and again online, there's this flare-up, pull, everywhere you go, and then it just becomes this headache for like a week or a week and a half. It's uproar. Every idiot that is an idiot decides that they've got something to say, and then obviously GMS just do what GMS do, which is just react to that with the truth, which is what you'd expect anyway. You can't keep quiet. So while that's happening there, on those same periods, it happens over here, but just not with necessarily. I'm not getting a. People aren't telling me that my version of the truth is wrong. I'm not fighting that, but I'm fighting other. It's like obviously Apostle Peter said it. Don't be pretty much bewildered at strange events. I can't remember exactly, but don't be bewildered at strange events that happen. So this is what it is. You got these weird events. You think, how the hell? And that's why I hate giving the stories, because when you give the stories, it's almost too much to be true. It's like too many. So you can't really give me all these stories and say what. How many times people had a near-death experience maybe once in their life. I had about 4. Yeah, and then people at some point people start scratching their head and going, "You're really telling the truth?" And I go, "No, I'm not that guy that sits there chatting shit." You get them people. We got one at work. Everyone he talks about an argument, he reckons he beat them up, and we're like, "No, you didn't." And he says, "Yeah, I got the bin and I dashed the bin on him." And we're like, "No, you didn't. You didn't dash no bin." You get them people. But yeah, it happens on that two-tone. So I hope you can understand what I'm saying, because it also applies to you. I'm not the only person living in this realm. The only difference between me and you is I've seen Yahushua. So you're believing on it. You're believing that he exists. I've seen him. I don't need to believe he exists. I saw him. He floated over me like a ghost, like to the point where he didn't have definitive feet because it just tailed off into nothing. But so, and then I've heard him speak, and then he's shown me more stuff, obviously, and then showing it about me allows me to see more into it, and then you pretty much live in it. So then that's what I'm trying to do, explain it to you, because you're doing the same thing but without knowing who you are or why you're doing it. But I don't know what's going on. There's multiple people listening. Who knows? But and again, that's why the most I kept my channel small. I said it before. I'm not speaking to the world. They already heard it. They're already ready to argue about it. So what's the point of me getting involved in more arguments with them? But I'm only showing this this is messages given to me to give to a small group for you to have more depth and understanding in what's in your mind. And as I tell you that, it's 11:44. So that's the second time this morning I've seen that. So, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against the spiritual wickedness in high places. It says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High. It says, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Another thing is, when I first, how I obviously came, and then I started getting into the scriptures. It wasn't really until I came across GMS, and then the way, because obviously you hear other people presenting scriptures, but the way GMS presents scriptures, it's like a whole different sound to it. And then I started picking up that the scriptures, like they cut. Obviously, we know this. It's not like something new. But then what it is, it reminds me of writing songs, because when you write a song, for example, like if you're gonna rap, The first thing you need to remember is that your first line has to be banging. If your first line is banging, then you catch them to listen to the rest of your rhyme. If your first line is shit, they're already, or even if you haven't got the right voice, the people zone out by line two. You're trying to hit them with 8 bars. By the second bar, they've locked out. They're like, nah, 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 this ain't my guy. If the first line's banging and you sound right, as an artist, you'll catch someone and you'll get more attention for the rest of your bar. Um, Obviously, I suppose same applies to singing. And what it is, I've always kind of thought when I first started getting into the scriptures, you start thinking this is like, it really is like a song. And then when you hear like the prophets pull out scriptures, they're like tracks. So you got bangers. Like for example, like Jeremiah 4:7. Now to me, this is a banger. It's the lion is come up from its thicket and the destroyer of the Gentiles. All these people said, no, the Gentiles are going to be saved. Well, here it's talking about the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. So we'll find out when, and that says Gentiles as in other nations, not Israelites that were living as other nations, because we were all Gentiles in terms of living as them, but we're not doing that now. We live different. We live according to our own heritage, if you like. But he has gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate. That's going to be America. It says, and thy cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. That's definitely going to be America. So that's a banger. You start off your video with that, and you got people listening. They're like, yeah, I need to, like, what's this video about? So it's the same thing with music. And so I was kind of like, when I do pick scriptures, you're kind of picking it to cut. You're going, yeah, well, I need to bang, I need to cut, I need to do this. And there's thousands in this, there's thousands of these precepts, but bangers. It's not like you got 5 out of 5,000. There's literally loads. Who is this coming from Edom? That's another one. Just off the top of my head. But and then about 2 days ago, I came across this. Now me, I just jump around from music to music. This is bassline music. It's called bassline. Kind of like house, but bit different. And I remember like in 2007 when I was in Kittem. I went out there and they were banging a lot of bassline music. Um, even into I got to tell you this one as well. Even in 2007, I went out there. It's an island full of hoes, 304s in Kittem, pretty much Ayia Napa. So it's just all hoe. A girl go out there for a week, for 7 days, and she probably hit up about I don't know, 6, 7 men. That type of place. But then somehow I found a virgin, and then so she wouldn't do nothing. No, ain't doing nothing. Went back, blah blah blah. 3 years later, I mean, really now it's what 19 years later, but 3 years later, at that point, even she said to me, "So what's happening now? It's been happening from a long time." Because she even said to me after 3 years, she said, "When I first met you, you were like a bit funny with people. You're always like ready to just cut them off. You're just a bit off with people, and if they're funny as soon as they show you some sort of funniness, you're just like, nah, not having it." And then what it is, she goes, "I've been with you for 3 years, and I realized why. Because everywhere you, wherever you go, there's always someone a problem. We could go to a different country and someone's got a problem with you. We can go down the road, someone's got a problem." And she goes, you will turn up with no intention, and someone will find their way to you with a problem." And she probably don't realize it, but that's what kind of I said, yeah, you know what, you're cool because you've obviously paid attention. But then that's pretty much the best way I can describe it. All this drama that happens. Like I say, you could write a book and you think to yourself, how can these just keep? And then even now, like in the last 2 weeks, yeah, I want to make a video, but that it's just way beyond just having to deal with what I'm having to deal with. None of the problems I'm dealing with are going to kill me. There's just so many come at once, like in a flood. And then, like I say, then you look online and you see all this BS, like, oh, everybody's got a problem, and you realize, yeah, this is like a moment of attack. And it did kind of build up. I do realize it was building up because, like I said, about a month ago, remember I had that problem with the woman at work, and after that, that security lady, she started giving me a stick, and then all of a sudden, the last 2 3 weeks, it's just gone haywire. So I'm kind of hoping now. I don't know what the Most High's got planned next, but I've kind of got to this point. I came home today. I said I feel clean. I'm going to do this thing, and then he presented me with that. What's this? The idiot claims, GMS Vegas. What he presented me with that, and the guy wrote it here lately, and then I said, yeah, this is obvious. It's obvious. But anyway, back to Ephesians and the music. So wherefore take on the whole armor of the Most High. So this bassline music, and what it is, I came across this the other day by chance, and this number was it number 4. I think I heard of one or two of them, but I can't remember like a lot of these people. But this guy comes in, yeah, what's his name? Deadly Real, whatever. I looked up his music. It's not that great, if I'm honest, but it did kind of make me chuckle because he starts off here, yo, if you know me, yo, yeah, yeah, yo, listen, yo, look, yo, a lot of yos. I want to put on the armor of God every day. So he's come in. Do you know what? I'll give it to him. His first line's a banger, and he cut straight. The shame is, right? He hits 4 heavy bars, and then the rest are just not really going anywhere. And that's why I just think, they always let themselves down. But either way, I got to give it to him. His first line caught me. He says, I want to put on the armor of the Most High every day." I mean, he sounds a bit grisly. You hear his voice, like I'm putting on clothes. He says, "Don't get mad because of the path that I chose." He says, "Don't get mad." I find it funny. Don't get mad because he died and rose. Is what you find the little rhyme. Don't get mad the way, yo, another yo. He's got to add a yo in. I said, don't get mad the way we saving souls. Oh, it sounds familiar. So who's really saving souls? Do you think this guy's saving souls with his rap song? Nah, I don't think so. But we got the truth. If you follow this truth, you believe on Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, your soul can be saved. This is if you're mad, the way we locked in like Moses. And that's when I started laughing to myself because then Moses is David, is Peter, he's out there. And then obviously you have this church, Acts 2.0, and they're locked in. And that's what we are. We're locked in like Moses. And you're going to hate when we got it like Job. He actually says Job, but they put Job, but he says Job. He says you're going to hate when we got it like Job. So, and then he does another yo, and then he starts chatting his grisly nonsense. But I did have to chuckle to myself. I thought, well, I got to give it to him because his first line was a banger. And then that was a couple of days ago. And then obviously coming home thinking I'm going to make a video. And then, like I said, I came across this one. I'm thinking about the spirits. And I'm going to Ephesians 6. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, hang on a minute. This is what I'm saying to you. I forget what I'm about to say lyrics. I forget what's written where. I just know it's written in there. And I know it's merged in my mind. And off my instinct, I'll speak it. And then you'll go, oh, yeah, you spoke about this chapter. And I'll go, yeah, that's right. But I don't just bypass that and just do it. I mean, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm not saying that's what everybody should do. It's probably, you think, well, why am I doing this? And everyone's doing it that way. Well, it's an example. And then it's an example to show you the concept and the understanding. We're at a point where, like Apostle Tahar says, we're analyzing things. So, like, Yahweh Shai, he's active. He's doing this. These things are happening here. You got the earthquakes popping off. All these things going off. He's active, so he's showing us. And obviously, while he's showing us the prophecies, he's also showing us the concept through the examples I'm trying to give you. He's showing us the concept of repeat scenarios in different lifetimes, in different situations, but then you still may have the same sort of struggles. It sounds like a very wishy-washy thing, something like Paul would say. And then people say, oh, Paul's chatting Greece, or whatever they want to say. But that's cool. That's down to their detriment. Because if they pass away today, the next thing they're going to do is be in front of the Most High, and then they realize that they're wrong. So they take their chances. So one thing I do want to add is, like I kind of said before, I tell you all these little stories, and then, really I'm doing it for you to understand a concept. I'm living a concept which is created by the Most High. It exists. It is something that's part of the world. People don't understand. It's part of the mysteries. So that's why I tell you all these different stories. And then, at some point, you might think, oh, it's quite easy for someone to have those, have those, so many events keep happening. And then you get to a point where you think it's too much or this or that or whatever. But personally, from my point of view, it don't really come into question because there's as much as you're doing all this situations, going through all the situations, the fact that I'm able to see all this and explain it, we have this knowledge, the fact that we have these mysteries tells me that the Most High's with us, and if the Most High's with us, then who could be against us? So pretty much, to translate that into a modern day phrase, when I'm in situations, I don't say it to people. I don't say it out loud. Really, it's probably the first time I'm saying it out loud, if I can remember rightly. But the concept in my mind is, you can't fuck with me because the Most High is dealing with me. He has to be dealing with me because he's giving me all these mysteries. Now you may get away with screaming and shouting at me. You may get away with damage. You may make fun of me. You may damage something. You may steal something. You may cause me some sort of headache initially, but ultimately, what's going to happen is the Most High is going to punish you for it, and He's going to give me back what I lost. Sometimes in a slightly different way, and that's happened on quite a few occasions for me to be very confident that that's a persistent pattern. So again, it's an example. You guys go through your own situations, even going out on the street and just bashing up your bodies to do all that every week. And then so it's quite easy to sit at home and say, nah, do you know what, I'm just going to put my feet up. But at the same time, you got to tune into that other part. The Most High's with you. It's down to the knowledge. The real key is the knowledge. I mean, there's many Israelites out there that know the name. We throw the name out there like confetti. So really, all sorts of people know the name, whether they want to use it or not or whatever. That's a different scenario. But it's the name is gonna obviously save you, but it's what the knowledge, the wisdom that comes with it, and it's this type of knowledge and wisdom. Understanding on a deeper level the cycle of life, the system of reincarnation, the system. The Most High is showing you how I can make you repeat your steps in a different lifetime at His will, and then He shows you. I can give you things, I can take things away, I can react to things instantly. I said before in the previous video that then people at work that were troubled me. We went to the meeting, and I said that one of them's going to get sacked. He's been sacked. He got sacked for taking a plant, a flower, an orchid, something so small, a little. So he was told to take it to the bin. He took it to the locker room. They done him for theft. So someone set him up, um, and I just asked the Most High to just deal with him in whatever way you see fit. The man lost his job for a flower, for an orchid, something you could probably buy for a few quid. Like 15, I don't know, 10, 15 quid, whatever. He lost his job for it. So, like I say, as much as all this stuff hits you, I get problem after problem after problem, but I got this supreme confidence that I'm gonna find the answer. Because if I can't physically find it through AI or my own workings out, I got the Most High to call on. So then, how are you gonna stop me from achieving what I need to achieve? Now, if this is something that the Most High don't want you to achieve, that's another story. We can have many stories around this different one particular story, but you got to remember, if the Most High be with us, then who can be against us? So I hope that's edifying. I'm going to leave it right there. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Kwadash. And until next time, Shalom.